Okay. I am sure that we have all had those classes where the kids come in and it is just a chaotic blur until they leave. And then you are left standing there going, what just happened? And do I ever want to come back? Managing a classroom is probably one of the hardest and most crucial tasks to learn when dealing with younger children. Learning how to set the tone, maintain a structure, and create a habit building closer is the route to being able to deliver the knowledge and support you to support them. So let's get into it. Setting the tone. This is how we're going to start class. You are the controller of the tone. Kids go off of the presence of you, and that is how they learn to set their boundaries. That is how they know what is going to be happening into the room and how I am going to manage myself based off of how you are acting. If your energy is very chaotic and all over the place, they are going to be very chaotic and all over the place. If you are structured and settled and relaxed, they will then follow suit. A great example of this is when you whisper to a kid and then they whisper back to you. They are just matching the tone that you are presenting to them because they're looking to you for guidance of how they are supposed to respond and act and behave based off of the energy that you are putting out. So again, you are the controller of the tone. So be aware and do it in a way that you want your classroom to run. Not only do you want to set the tone of your class by your energy and how you are communicating, but it is also about how the activities are run within your classes. So I like to start, no matter the age actually, with a circle. For the littles, this gives them an immediate action that they can take place in as soon as they walk into the room. So especially if they're feeling uncomfortable or they're getting comfortable with you or they're more of a first-time student, this gives them a singular action that they are able to put their attention and put their emotions towards. For our younger ones, another reason why I like to start in a circle is kids are very singular focused, which at that age is of course age appropriate, but they are singular focused. So I like to promote activities that are going to create a community type action to where everyone feels included, but everybody is also held accountable for how they are acting because everyone is holding that space. So if one kid is running around or talking, they know that everybody is here. We are all participating in this thing, and you want to be a good team player and a good role model for the other kids that are in the circle. And it is how I also like to set the tone for the class. We do a question of the day so that the kids can feel like they are cared about, as well as it limits less talking as the class goes on because I start with them being able to share. This doesn't always get to happen with maybe my newer classes or our younger, more early preschool, like 2 to 3, or for our mommy and me classes, of course. I typically like to go into an interactive action right away, but still in that community circle shape. But as they get older, I do like to add in the question of the day. So again, they feel cared about. It limits more questions and more story time later on. But then it also gives me the opportunity to take that information that they are giving in that storytelling or in that question of the day to be able to use to guide their learning because it will be more personal to them. For my older ages, why I also like to start in a circle and why I like to do a question of the day is I can also use that and take advantage of that opportunity to help be a public speaking practice where they can learn to talk with confidence, learn that self-discipline of being able to, even though I'm feeling a little bit anxious and weird about this, to still handle that with grace and maturity. Then we move into my listen up song. I always do the listen up song. I'll maybe give you a preview here.
Our eyes are watching, ears are listening, and you're on to us done. Looking in the toilet, see if you can try it. Listen well, listen well.
And then depending on the age is where we move into the middle part of our class. And this is where the importance of maintaining a structure and a consistency. Kids can thrive and explore in an environment that feels safe and already predetermined. Their physical sense and awareness is not fully developed at this age, but their sense of hearing, visual awareness, and emotional intelligence is actually much higher. So we are going to use that to our advantage, not only in the management of our classroom, but also how we develop our curriculum. And through that, we are also helping their brains develop properly. Emotionally, we want to allow the kids to be able to process and have tools to do so. I like to practice that by always letting them know one activity ahead. So whether they like that activity or not, that gives them time to emotionally prepare and emotionally set themselves up to be able to handle the task that is going to happen next. Again, also working with where they are at emotionally. If there is a task that they are struggling to complete, for example, sitting on their dot, not running around, I will use their motivation system that they are in, typically in that preschool age, which I like to call their little helper phase. And I will ask if they would like help with putting their dot down. I would ask if they would like help with putting the next activity away or getting the next activity out. Typically, they will then stretch for that autonomy and do it themselves. But sometimes at that age, they also need a visual example of how you want that to be done appropriately. Now, physically, this is where I find the most important when maintaining the structure of a classroom is keeping their bodies engaged. A lot of kids, no matter the age group, what I have found is they are just very underactive. They are overstimulated and underactive. This is typically where you will find the misbehaved kids is they are very high functioning and they don't have an outlet to be able to express that appropriately. For adults, that would be like us getting a bunch of caffeine into our system and then going, okay, now I want you to sit down and focus on a singular task. So with that, I like to keep my classes moving and grooving as much as possible. You want to control the movement that you want to see to try to eliminate the movements that you do not want to see. So a very simple example of how I may do this. At that age, we are also trying to practice taking turns and going across the floor and engaging in activities that are singular and also group focused. So I am typically not going to have my littles just sit down and wait for their turn. As the year goes on, that might be an appropriate expectation for them. But what we can do that's going to engage their body more and again, then be more fun is we're going to do this in an action that can still be movement adjacent, but still appropriate. So for example, I might give them a animal that we are going to act like. We're going to sit on our waiting mat like a crab, or can you show me how a turtle would act? Or can you sleep like a koala? This engages their creativity. This is something that you can call upon to them or engage them in of what animal should we sit on the waiting mat like? It allows creativity to happen as well as movement and engagement of the body and the brain. Another way I do this is I very frequently move where the activity is being held. For example, we start in a circle, then we move to a less structured space where they're maybe all spread out. Then the next activity, I'm going to have that spread out shape move so they can move around in the space that is not structured, but they are able to freely move about. And that, again, is an appropriate behavior that we are wanting to see. Then I might change that space into more of a structured across the floor. For example, how I like to do this, I like to play a game called Fairy House. So this is a fun, engaging way, but it is still structured to where we're practicing, not necessarily getting to do whatever we want, but it is still moving, engaging the body, engaging the brain. And what we'll bridge into our next episode a little bit is physically is also how our kids, our younger kids, learn. In order to learn, they must have a sensory experience. Then they can reflect and make connections on that experience and then finally take actions to move forward and learn off of that. So the more physicality and the sensory experience that they can have, the better that they are going to learn the curriculum that you have put in place for them. How I end my classes. I end with a reward system that is a habit building system. I either like to close back in that circle, or if we just feel like they're kind of over and they're getting close to being done, then we will still go back to our waiting mat. I like to use titles and phrases for that they can, again, the consistency and the system that they can count on. I have a specific mat that I use in the class. If I'm moving to different studios, I will pick a mat they will always have in the room and they are familiar with. And that becomes the waiting mat so that they know every time that mat gets brought out, they are going to be going on there and they're going to be waiting for the next activity to happen. They're going to be waiting for their turn. And in this case, they're going to be waiting for their reward. I like to make a moment of this versus just, okay, we're going to be done now, and I'll give you a sticker or I'll give you a stamp or I'll give you something as you leave the door. I like to use this as a closing up. We start in a community, we end in a team building community where we can also break down how the class went. Again, not going into it very deep, not harping on it, because they're also going to be leaving and not remembering that until they come back. But this can be a good time where we maybe talk about how we had good full body listening or we didn't, or what do we enjoy about the class, or is there something that anybody wants to wrap up and share. I also, when we're giving out, say, stickers or the stamps, I think it is very important to wait for everyone to get it. And again, for my littles who are very singular focused, this gives me another opportunity for them to practice the team building, practice focusing on others, that we are going to wait till everyone gets a sticker, everyone gets whatever reward system they are given, and then we can all leave the room together. Now, with the reward system, this is where it might be a little bit controversial. I hit them where it hurts. I do not let every kid get a sticker or a stamp. And the reason for that, I am not trying to punish. I am not trying to make them feel bad or make them feel sad because they didn't get that. This is where we can start to really build the good behavior and the self-esteem of our kids by having them display an action that is not suitable for the classroom and then in turn is not suitable for them and not suitable for their learning and their development. We don't want to reward that, because then what's happening in their brain is they're creating habit loops that are not going to be sustainable and successful for them. So as much as it really is hurtful and you don't want to have to eliminate any sort of prize from them, seeing the longevity and seeing how that system is going to play out, we are not building them to thrive. We are not building them in a system that is going to then make them be successful and make them have a good, healthy self-esteem, because they're creating habits that are going to build to better and bigger behaviors versus taking them down a path of, we're going to reward whatever you do, and then they get older and they're confused why they're getting in trouble for certain things or they're not able to achieve certain things. I know this is maybe a grander idea from just not giving a 3-year-old a sticker, but it is something that I do practice and I do believe in. Now, with that, I am not going to just let that child know, no, you will not be getting a sticker today and goodbye. This is a teamwork opportunity where we are going to work with that child and let them know, hey, we're here for you. We're going to work on this together. Whatever actions or behaviors that were not appropriate today, next week, let's work on that together. And then you also, as a teacher, making a mental note of, okay, next time Emily didn't have good full body listening. The next time that she comes into your space, so that they can also make that connection to this room with you means these behaviors. It's okay if that maybe is not happening at home. Kids are really smart and they know and they can make those connections to, when we're with you, when we're in this room, this is what is expected. And then you're going to work with them to let them know, hey, next time we're going to work on full body listening together and we're going to really get this down. Empowering the situation, not just focusing and harping on the fact that they didn't get a sticker or a stamp or the reward. With our reward systems, whether it's at the end of the class or consistently throughout of giving them rewards, we want to make sure that we are using that reward as a reward and not as a bribe. It now becomes a bribe when the reward is the result of stopping the negative behavior. For example, Emma, I can give you a sticker if you stop running around. What might happen is they might start running around just because they know if they stop that action, they will then get a reward. So what we are doing is we're instilling that I'm going to do something wrong just to have the self-awareness to stop, to then still get the reward that I want. Even though realistically no positive action really happened, they are just smart enough to know, if I do this and then I do this, this is what happens. So let's create that same brain connection to, when I do this behavior, this is the reward that I get. This is the experience that I have. This is the learning that I get to have. let's use that to our advantage by helping them and guiding them to the correct response. And overall, for classroom management, being consistent is what is important. Kids thrive in a structure and a consistency and within a system that they can count on. So as long as that they can feel safe, that's when they can explore and they can learn. I want to use these videos to help build a community, provide support, and give guidance for how we can all build kids to thrive. So if you feel so inclined, please share this video if you found it helpful so that more littles and more teachers and upcoming teachers can learn, develop new tools, and be inspired. Thank you for watching. You can't even see? Okay, ready? We'll do quiet the second time. Ready? Our eyes are watching, ears are listening. Dance along with a song. Voices listening quiet. Let's see if you can try it. Listen well, listen well. Now, very good. Okay, you know what it's time for? Meet me at the waiting mat. Please and thank you. Meet me at the waiting mat and then sit